Tommy was a great law enforcement officer, but even a better son, brother, husband, father, and friend.
And as we continue to follow the latest here in the Bay Area with the BART sergeant who was killed in the line of duty, Sergeant Tom Smith, shot by a fellow officer during a probation search at a Dublin apartment complex. This happened on Tuesday, and Alameda County now taking lead in that investigation. The shooter has been identified as fellow officer Michael Mays. He is distraught about all of this, according to his lawyer. KRON4's Will Tran live in front of BART headquarters now with the latest on what is going to happen today. Will?
Well, James, what could happen today is the autopsy results could be released, and at that time, when it's released, we'll know how many times Sergeant Tom Smith was shot and exactly where. You can see those BART police officers, those cars behind me. They're not talking. We saw them at a coffee shop a little bit earlier, and they're refusing to say. They're in mourning right now because one officer was killed, another officer just hurt, saddened by what happened, and of course, they know both officers. Here's training video of Michael Mays. He's been with the BART Police Department for at least 10 years. Before that, he was with Moraga. He talked about how he is not talking to the public face-to-face with cameras, but instead he let the lawyer do the speaking, and his lawyer told KRON4 that Michael Mays is regretful, remorseful. He's spending time with his family at this time. Now, the Alameda County Sheriff's Department, they did tell us at a news conference that officers were there. Apparently, they do have the cameras on the vest at the time, but they're not sure if the cameras were rolling. So that's one thing that they're going to look at. Also, they did admit to me that there were eyewitnesses there, so they're also being investigated. In the meantime, we are talking to legal experts, law enforcement officers. They tell us the fatal shooting, the deadly shooting of one officer to another officer is perhaps the worst thing that could happen to any police officer in the country.
It's every officer's nightmare that that a shooting occurs and that officer, and it's the nightmare I used to have, that an innocent person is killed. And you can never take that back. And it's something one has to live with for the rest of their lives.
Here's a picture of Tom Smith. He was with the BART Police Department for 20 years. He worked in a unit that specializes in probation searches. While at the home in Dublin, James, there were at least 6 or 7 police officers present. We asked at the news conference what exactly happened. Was Michael Mays just startled by what happened? Was this an accidental shooting? They would not go into the details, but they did tell me this full investigation should be wrapped up in about 2 to 3 weeks. Michael Mays leaves behind, Sergeant Tom Smith leaves behind a 6-year-old daughter, a wife. He comes from a family of law enforcement. His 2 brothers are also officers in the Alameda County Sheriff's Department, as well as Newark, and his wife. We're not exactly sure. I'm trying to find out. His wife is also a BART police officer. I'm trying to find out if they actually even met on the force.